that gets under people's skin. And they say, wait a minute, this guy is part of a racket. The racket of the rating agencies, the fund managers, Wall Street, the auditors, as we just talked about, the media, CNBC. And it's a mafia-style racket. They're practicing racketeering, and they are stealing wholesale our wealth and, by proxy, our country. At some point, there is a breaking point, and the most victimized group in America will be the new generation that wakes up one day and finds gasoline at $15 a gallon, a bag of groceries for $300, and no way to get to work because the roads are completely in disrepair, and on and on and on. And those people will have no recourse whatsoever but to take back their country by any means necessary. It's not a big leap of faith here. This is just a logical progression of
That's
what
right.
happens.
And the bankers are gearing up with 1.4 billion plus rounds of ammo, checkpoints, giant armored tanks, vehicles, admitting they're going to put the army on the street. What's the army going to do when their wife can't, with their paycheck, pay for groceries, or mama's thrown out on the street? I mean, what are these bankers thinking?
Well, when you say, will it be like road warriors? It could be like, a soft gulag. And what I mean by that would be, on one hand, you've got this massive private prison industry that's growing one of the fastest growing industries in America is private prisons. Corrections Corps of America hitting new all-time highs on their stock. We talked about it recently.
And she'll put all the people in the new FEMA camps where they're there for petty reasons, making things, further driving down wages.
Right. And prison labor, since we talked last time, has come out that factory owners in America are complaining to the Chamber of Commerce because the prison labor now, which works for 80 to 90 cents a day, is becoming such a big component of the American labor force that the only way you can get a job in America now is to go to prison, to find yourself in prison. And so the manufacturers, the factories in America, they don't have anybody to hire because the people...
Yeah, and look at the crime wave in France, the riots, the crime wave in Greece, and they've disarmed most of the people, so the criminals are just robbing. And it says the police can't help. Yeah, because it turns out the cops are the ones robbing a lot of people. I mean, this can only go on so long.
All right, so my idea of the soft gulag is, first of all, you have the hard gulag, which are the prisons and the camps, and we see that being telegraphed in the stock market already because the capitalization of those companies is moving aggressively higher because they know that they're about to get 20, 30, 40, 50 million new inmates, and that's incredibly profitable. They get huge tax abatements. They own the restaurants and the hotels near the prisons, so people go visit their family in prison. They eat in the restaurants. They stay in the hotels. You lose your voting rights. It's a fantastic money center. But the soft gulag, we saw that last week with the introduction of face deals. These new Facebook cameras in retail shops that are geared to face recognition.
And you get discounts by giving up your liberties and freedoms, but that's only up front. Later, everyone will have to do it to buy and sell.
Right. So, in other words, you give up your liberties and freedoms for a deal on some Chinese-made garbage. So you get 20 cents off. And you'll allow Facebook to essentially keep you in check, keep you in line. Whenever you go into a mall or a shopping environment, and of course they'll hook it up to the grid, which includes every camera out there, you will be buzzed on your cell phone whenever you stray off the path. If you stray toward a retailing outlet that they don't want you to go to or doesn't have the deal that they want you to look at, you'll get buzzed, you'll get phoned, you'll start...
Yeah, this is how they control markets. We've got to go to calls because I promised to, but new documents, Big Sis lied about canceling mobile body scanner program. They're now rolling out they have the Army doing this. We have footage on local news from New York where they make you and your family drive under a high-powered... X-ray machine that shoots through metal, more powerful than a chest X-ray, and they're still rolling it out. New documents, Big Sis lied about canceling mobile body scanner program. Homeland Security claimed it had dropped the plans in an early stage, and we've got the local newscast showing the idiot police and military standing out there under high-powered, guys, show people this article, it's incredible, under giant high-powered X-ray machines that shoot through your car and your truck. I mean, this is suicide. I mean, these globalists are just setting up a system of total war against everybody with the GMO food, the radiation, the mass death. We are run by lunatics.
Right, the soft gulag concept is coming into focus. And Facebook, by the way, also is introducing online gambling in the UK with British pounds. So that, remember, I call it the gulag casino, which is going to, people will give up their liberties also for a chance to gamble online. Of course, they hold out these enormous, mega, multi-million-dollar pots of money.
Yeah, all fake dreams, all manipulating. The people going to the private prison to visit their family don't even know the restaurants, gas stations, hotels are owned by the big mega bank that owns that consortium that actually shipped the drugs in, that their son or daughter got caught using. The troops grow the opium, total black op murder, massive record suicide by the troops, cancer viruses being injected in us. Total insanity. Again, that's the type of collapse you're talking about. Let's go to Roy in Montana. Roy, you're on the air with Max Keiser.
Well, thanks for taking my call, Brother Alex. Mr. Kaiser, good to talk to you. My question is, I can't really afford gold, and obviously it's going to go way up. Do you think silver would be a good investment for somebody who can't afford gold, or do you just, at this point, just invest in...
You're talking to Mr. Silver right now, Max.
Yeah, silver, of course, they call it the poor man's gold. It's basically the same thing as owning gold. It'll operate the same thing. You know, gold and silver now, more and more, are being considered a currency. The commodity, the CME in Chicago, the Commodity Mercantile Exchange, just announced today that they are accepting gold as collateral. That means for the first time now, these commodity futures operations who are part of the banking system, they are so distrustful of the banks themselves that they are violating this idea that gold is somehow not a money. They're saying now gold is a currency. We will take gold as collateral. So gold is seeping its way into the economy. It's being monetized slowly but surely. It is the only thing that's going to be left standing. 5,000 years of history will tell you that. Silver is just as good as gold in this environment. If you don't want to buy pure silver, you can buy junk silver, which is 90% silver, you know, the 1964 or previous.
Everybody knows what those coins are. And when all this paper fully goes down, people are going to still be transacting. It's going to be whiskey, cigarettes, silver, gold, bullets, firearms, food, people that know how to fix things, trades. I mean, that's where it's at.
Yeah, well, Stacy, my fiance, soon-to-be wife, you know, she has thousands of these miniature bottles of whiskey from the airplanes that she's going to use as currency, she says.
By the way, Max, yeah, I've got a bunch of whiskey and stuff. Obviously not drinking it, but I'm joking. But I do have a bunch of whiskey and stuff. I mean, I know that there's a good chance all this is going to happen. I hope it doesn't. But sir, I hope that answers your question.
It does, and one quick follow up: what would that do with a person with a mortgage? I mean, if the dollar tanks and you owe your mortgage in dollars, I mean, how does that affect the average homeowner?
Well, sometimes. Well, I mean, Max, you answer it. Go ahead.
Well, theoretically, you inflate the mortgage value away, and it's quote unquote good for the homeowner. But I think we're in an environment where there's so much economic dislocation and there's so many other variables at play here that it's not worth it in that sense. But you mean your point is well taken. It's a good point, but there are other things to consider. And real estate as a class of investment is problematic for a number of reasons. You know, you have the society breaking down. You don't know, different neighborhoods today could suddenly become war zones next week. There's a lot of things happening. But your point is well taken. It's a good point, and I can't, say it's not a good point.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Let's go to Jay in Texas. You're on the air, Jay.
Hey, how you doing, Max? Hey, there's an article out in Veterans Today about foreign cash disqualifies Romney from presidential bid. Something about him being over in Israel and Italy or London. Do you know anything about that? And
I haven't seen that particular article. Romney, of course, is problematic for a number of different reasons. The whole Bain Capital affiliation and everything that goes on there. I don't understand why people would want to look at a guy who said his tax rate for the past 5 years is averaging about 13%. So clearly he's not in the same country that we are living in. He lives in some other country. He's a foreigner.
He lives in global country where the globalists are all above the law.
You can't really consider him to be an American. He doesn't, he pays taxes like he lives in the Cayman Islands. So go to the Cayman Islands and leave us alone.
Yeah, I hear you. You certainly had courage to live in France. I know you're going to the tax haven, as they call it, of England, Max. Let's go to Mark in North Carolina. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex, Max, thanks for taking my call. And doggone, you answered several of my questions while I was sitting here waiting. But I still have one good one, I think, and that's got to do with whether you've got bullets or heirloom seeds or other items, including the silver and the gold. Once you have it, what's the best ways or what's the best and safest bet for keeping it?
Well, I mean, number one, don't tell anybody about it but your spouse. Number two, have guns to defend it and be ready to use them. And number three, don't put all your eggs in one basket, Max Keiser.
Well, my understanding is that InfoWars is opening up a huge warehouse down in Austin, Texas to store everybody's precious metals. That's where I send all mine.
No, very funny, Max.
No, okay. So, yes, you don't want, obviously, you're at risk if you have it in your home or, there's a lot of work on the web in terms of what people are doing with this. Personally, there are services that you can get involved with that store your metals in vaults that are completely outside of the banking system.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of private lockers. Safety deposit boxes aren't 100% safer. Yeah, but the point is, if you got it in a couple of them, you can always get the stuff out later. So I mean, just all over the place is basically it.
There's common sense. You're right to be concerned. From there are a number of strategies you can use. Some, each one has pluses and minuses, but tied to your individual circumstance, which I don't know. But it's easy enough to get the research on this.
Yeah, I'm investing in lead and the systems that project it, and I'm also food and things like that.
Well, yeah, but funny thing is, Portugal just announced that the folks there that are being exposed to austerity measures have just run out of all the gold that they can sell at the local pawn shop to swap.
No, I know, absolutely. And the bankers drove the price down to hoard it themselves. More calls straight ahead. Logan, John, Terry, Scott, your calls straight ahead. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones with Max Keiser. Basically, an offshore criminal class has gotten control. They fund themselves by militarizing against us. They make money out of enslaving us. They've brainwashed people to be paranoid, think their neighbors are terrorists, while the government runs al-Qaeda publicly. It is an insane time to be alive. Max Keiser is our guest for this little segment and the next, and then in studio, we're going to have Joe Bannister and his lawyer, political prisoner. They tried to make him a political prisoner. Joe Banister, former Treasury agent. This is very important in light of all the corruption with the IRS coming out. Logan in California, you're on the air worldwide.
Nice to talk to you, AJ. Remember, apathy is treason, my brother. My question for Max Keiser is, I don't hear anybody speaking about commercial real estate and the fact that you can only claim a loss on your business for 5 years before you have to declare bankruptcy. And I believe that is going to be one of the trigger mechanisms for the next collapse, because housing real estate was the bubble that popped the first time. And so I wanted to know what you thought about that, Max.
Well, all I can say is that I would agree with you. Okay, what you're saying is absolutely correct. The commercial real estate sector is kind of huge bubble proportions, just like the student loan sector is a huge $1 trillion plus bubble ready to burst as well. So there's still big bubbles yet to burst.
Here in California, everywhere I look, strip malls they have one business in 10 units, and every single one of them has a